The Initiates of the Flame by Manly P. Hall. The Initiates of the Flame. Introduction. Few realize that even at the present stage of civilization in this world, there are souls who, like the priests of ancient temples, walk the earth and watch and guard the sacred fires that burn upon the altar of humanity. Purified ones they are, who have renounced the life of this sphere in order to guard and protect the flame, that spiritual principle in man now hidden beneath the ruins of its fallen temple. As we think of the nations that are past of Greece and Rome, and the grandeur that was Egypt, we sigh as we recall the story of their fall, and we watch the nations of today, not knowing which will be the next to draw its shroud around itself and join that great ghostly file of peoples that are dead. But everywhere, even in the rise and the fall of nations, we see through the haze of materiality justice. Everywhere we see reward, not of man, but of the invincible one, the eternal flame. If we turn again to the races now dead, we shall, if we look, find the cause of their destruction. The light had gone out. When the flame within the body is withdrawn, the body is dead. When the light was taken from the altar, the temple was no longer the dwelling place of a living God. Degeneracy, lust, and passion, hates and fears crept into the souls of Greece and Rome, and black magic overshadowed Egypt. The light upon the altar grew weaker and weaker. The priests lost the word, the name of the flame. Little by little, the flame flickered out, and as the last spark grew cold, a mighty nation died, buried beneath the dead ashes of its own spiritual fire. But the flame did not die. Like spirit of which it is the essence, it cannot die, because it is life, and life cannot cease to be. In some wilderness of land or sea it rested once again, and there rose a mighty nation around the flame. So history goes on through the ages. As long as the people are true to the flame, it remains, but when they cease to nourish it and their lives, it goes on to the other lands and on to other worlds. Those who worship this flame are now called heathens. Little do we realize that we are heathens ourselves until we are baptized by the Holy Spirit, which is fire. For fire is light, and the children of the flame are the sons of light, even as God is light. There are those who have for ages labored with man to help him kindle within himself the spark, which is his divine birthright. It is these who, by their lives or self-sacrifice and service, have awakened and tended this fire, and who through the ages of study have learned the mystery it contained, that now call the, quote, initiates of the flame, end quote. For ages they have labored with mankind to help him to uncover the light within himself, and on the pages of history they have left their seal, the seal of fire. Unhonored and unsung, they have labored with humanity, and now their lives are used as fairy stories to amuse children. But the time will yet come when the world shall know the work that they did, and realize that our present civilization is raised upon the shoulders of the mighty demigods of the past. We stand as Faust stood, with all our lore, a fool no wiser than before, because we refuse to take the truths they gave us and the evidence of their experiences. Let us honor these sons of the flame, not by words, but by living, that their sacrifice shall not have been in vain. They have shown us the way. They have led man to the gateway of the unknown, and there in their robes of glory passed behind the veil. Their lives were the key to their wisdom, as it must always be. They have gone, but in history they stand, milestones on the road of human progress. let us watch these mighty ones as they pass silently by. First, Orpheus, playing upon the 7-stringed lyre of his own being, the music of the spheres. Then Hermes, the thrice greatest, with his emerald tablet of divine revelation. Through the shades of the past, we dimly see Krishna, the illuminated, who on the battlefield of life taught man the mysteries of his own soul. Then we see the sublime Buddha, his yellow robe not half so glorious as the heart it covered, and our own dear master, the man Jesus, his head surrounded with a halo of golden flame, and his brow serene with the calm of mastery. Then Mohammed, Zoroaster, Confucius, Odin, and Moses, and others no less worthy passed by before the eyes of the student. They were the sons of the flame. From the flame they came, and to the flame they have returned. To us they beckon and bid us to join them, and in our robes of self-earned glory to serve the flame they love. They were without creed or clan. They served but one great ideal. From the same place they all came, and to the same place they have returned. There was no superiority there. Hand in hand they labor for humanity. Each loves the other, for the power that has made them masters has shown them the brotherhood of all life. In the pages that follow, we will try to show this great thread, the spiritual thread, the thread of the living fire that winds in and out through all religions and binds them together with a mutual ideal and mutual needs. In the story of the Grail and the legends of King Arthur, we find that thread wound around the table of the king in the temple of the Mount Salvart. The same thread of life that passes through the roses of the Rosicrucians winds among the petals of the lotus and among the temple pillars of Luxor. There is but one religion in all the world, and that is the worship of God, the spiritual flame of the universe. Under many names he is known in all lands, but as Iswari or Amun or God, he is the same, the creator of the universe, and fire is his universal symbol. We are the flame-born sons of God, thrown out as sparks from the wheels of the infinite. Around this flame we have built forms, we have hidden our light, but as students we are increasing this light by love and service until it again proclaim us sons of the eternal. Within us burns that flame, and before its altar the lower man must bow, a faithful servant of the higher. When he serves the flame he grows, and the light grows, until he takes his place with the true initiates of the universe, those who have given all to the infinite in the name of the flame within. Let us find this flame and also serve it, realizing that it is all created things, that all are one because all are a part of that eternal flame, the fire of spirit, the life and power of the universe. Upon the altar of this flame, the true creator of this book, the writer offers it and dedicated it to the one fire which blazes forth from God and is now hidden within each living thing. Foreword. The greatest of mystery schools. The world is the schoolroom of God. Our being in school does not make us learn, but within that school is the opportunity for all learning. It has its grades and its classes, its sciences and its arts, and admission to it is the birthright of man. Its graduates are its teachers. Its pupils are all created things. Its examples are nature, and its rules are God's laws. Those who would go into the greater colleges and universities must first, day by day and year by year, work through the common school of life and present to their new teachers the diplomas they have won, upon which is written the name that none may read save those who have received it. The hours may seem long and the teachers cruel, but each of us must walk that path, and the only ones ready to go onward are those who have passed through the gateway of experience, God's great school for man. Chapter 1. The Fire upon the Altar. The cube altar. Of the elements of the earth is the altar composed. It is the great cube of matter, or in this altar burns a flame. It is this flame that is the spirit of all created things. Man, know thyself. Thou art the flame, and thy bodies are the living altar. As far back as our history goes, we find that fire has played an important part in the religious ceremonial of the human race. In practically every religion, we find the sacred altar fires, which were guarded by the priests and vestals with greater care than their own lives. In the Bible, we find many references made to the sacred fires, which were used as one form of devotion by the ancient Israelites. The altar of burnt offerings is as old as the human race, and dates from time when first man, lifting himself out of the midst of ancient Lemuria, first saw the sun, the great fire spirit of the universe. Among the followers of Zoroaster, the Persian initiate, fire has been used for centuries in honor of the great fire god, Ormuzd, who is said by them to have created the universe. There are two paths, or divisions of humanity, whose history is closely related to that wisdom teaching. They embody the doctrines of fire and water, the two opposites of nature. Those who follow the path of faith, or the heart, use water and are known as the sons of Seth, while those who follow the path of the mind and action are the children of Cain, who is the son of Samael, the spirit of fire. Today we find the latter among the alchemists, the Hermetic philosophers, the Rosicrucians, and the Freemasons. It is well for us to understand that we ourselves are the cube altar upon which and in which burns the altar fire. For many centuries, the initiate of fire has been nourishing and guarding the spiritual flame within himself, as the ancient priest watched day and night the altar fires of Vesta's temple. On the left we see the ever-burning lamp. Know that the flame that burns within thee and lights thy way is the ever-burning lamp of the ancients. As their lamps were fed by the purest of oil, so thy spiritual flame must be fed by a life of purity and altruism. The ever-burning lamp of the alchemists, which having burned thousands of years without fuel in the catacombs of Rome, is but a symbol of the same spiritual fire within himself. In the picture we see the ever-burning lamp which is carried by the initiate in his wandering. It represents the spinal column of man, at the top of which is the flickering little blue flame and red flame. As the lamp of the ancients was fed and kept burning by the purest of olive oil, so man is transmitting within himself and cleansing in the laver of purification the life essences, which, when turned upward, provide fuel for the ever-burning lamp within himself. Upon the altars the ancients were offered sacrifices to their gods. The ancient Hierophant offered up sacrifices of spices and incense, and the Masonic brother today still have among his symbols the incense burner or censer. But few of the brothers recognize themselves in this symbol. The ancients symbolized under such things as this the development of the individual, and as the tiny spark burning among the incense cubes slowly consumes all, so the spiritual flame within the student is slowly burning away and transmuting the base metals and properties within himself, and offering up the essence thereof as the smoke upon the altar of divinity. It is said that King Solomon, when he completed his temple, offered bulls as a sacrifice to the Lord by burning them upon the temple altar. Those who believe in a harmless life wonder why so many references are made in the Bible to animal sacrifice. On the left we see the Masonic censer. As the perfume rising from the incense burner was acceptable in the sight of the Lord, so may our words and actions ever be a sweet incense acceptable in the sight of the Most High. The student realizes that the animal sacrifices are those of the celestial zodiac, and that when the ram or the bull was offered upon the altar, it represented the qualities in man which come through Aries, the celestial ram, and Taurus, the bull in the zodiac. In other words, the initiate passing through his tests and purification is offering upon the altar of his own higher being the lower animal instincts and desires within himself. Among the Masonic brothers, we also find what is called a symbol of mortality. It is a spade, a coffin, and an open grave, while upon the coffin has been laid a sprig of acacia or evergreen. In the picture, we see the spade of the grave digger, which has been considered the symbol of death for centuries. On the left we see the grave digger's spade. Let us take the spade that now digs our grave through the passions and emotions of life, and use it to unearth the secret room far below the rubbish of the fallen temple of the human soul. In the Book of Thoth, that strange document which has descended to man at his present stage of evolution as a deck of playing cards, we find a very wonderful symbolism. All of the suits of the cards, that of the spade is the only suit in which all the court cards face away from the pip. In all the other kings and queens, the faces are looking at the little marker in the corner of the card. But in the spade suit, they look away from it. Now, it is said that the spade has been taken from the acorn, but the occult student has a different idea. He sees in the spade, which has for ages been the symbol of death, a certain part of his own anatomy. If you will again turn the picture of the spade, you will see, if you have ever studied anatomy, that the grave digger's spade is the spinal column, and the spade-shaped piece, which is used on the deck of cards, is nothing more and nothing less than the sacrum bone. This bone forms the base of the spinal column and is also the spear of the passion. Through it and the formana, which pierce it, pass the roots of the spinal nerve, which indeed are the roots of the tree of life. It is the centre through which are nourished and fed the lower vertebrae of the spine, and the sacrum and coccygeal bones that dig the graves for all created things. This point has been beautifully symbolized by the grave digger's spade, which has been used by the brothers for many mystic organizations for ages. The currents and forces working through these lower spinal nerves must be transmuted and lifted upward to feed the altar fire at the positive or upper end of the spine. On the left, the candle. This is the light that has gone out. It is the candle that is hidden under the bushel. This is the true light that forever dispels the darkness of ignorance and uncertainty. Let the light shine forth through a purified body and a balanced mind, for this light is the life of our brother creatures. The centering of thought or emotion upon higher or lower things, as the case may be, determines where this life energy will be expended. If the lower emotions predominate, the flame upon the altar burns low and then flickers out, because the forces which feed it have been concentrated upon the lower centers. But when altruism predominates, then the lower forces are raised upward and pass through the purification, which makes possible their being used as fuel for the ever-burning lamp. Thus, we see why it was a great sin to let the lamp go out, for the pillar of the flames, which hovers over the tabernacle, purified and prepared after the directions of the Most High, is the spiritual flame that, hovering above man, lights his way wherever he may go. The sun of our solar system, that is, the spiritual sun behind the physical globe, is one of these flames. It began no greater than ours, and through the power of attraction and the transmuting of its ever-increasing energies, it has reached its present proportions. This flame in man is the, quote, light that shineth in the darkness, end quote. It is a spiritual flame within himself. It lights his way as no exterior light can. And this radiating out from him brings into view, one by one, the hidden things of the cosmos. And his ignorance is dispelled in exactly the same proportion as his light is spread. For the darkness of the unknown can only be removed by light, and the greater the light, the further back the darkness is driven. This is the lamp of the philosopher, which he carries through the dark passageways of life, and by the light of which he walks among the stones and along the narrow cliffs edge without any fear. But although he gain all other things and have not this light within himself, he cannot know where he goes, he cannot watch his footsteps, and he cannot dispel his ignorance with the light of truth. Therefore, let each student watch the fire that burns upon his altar. Let him also make that altar, his body, as beautiful and harmonious as possible. And let him also sacrifice upon that altar the frankincense and myrrh, his actions and his deeds. As in the tabernacle he offers all upon the altar of divinity, so let him day by day dispel the symbols of mortality, the coffin, and the open grave, by which he prepared himself through the mastery of the lower emotions within himself, and recognize that no matter how crystallized or dead his life may be, the fact that he exists at all proves that the sprig of acacia, the promise of life and immortality, is somewhere within himself. And although the flame of life may appear faint or cold, if he will supply the fuel by his daily actions, he will kindle the altar flame once more within himself, which, shining forth, will also help his brother to kindle this flame, which is a living sacrifice to the living God. End of chapter 1.